Get your word, get your word, get your word. Turn me, if you would, to Luke 19. Luke 19. And I want to read into your hearing verses 1 through 10. Again, the text is familiar to some. Allow me to expound. Once you have it, say, I have it. Better yet, once you find it, say, I'm looking at it. Okay. Then Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Now behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus who was a chief tax collector. And he was rich. And he sought to see who Jesus was. Is anybody still on that question, on that search to find out all about Yeshua? So he was looking for Jesus, but could not because of the crowd, for he was short of stature. So he ran ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was going to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today, somebody say today. For today I must stay at your house. I must stay at your house. So he made haste and came down and received him joyfully, not knowing what was in store, not knowing what Christ was going to say to him, but he received him joyfully. But when they saw it, they being the crowd, they all complained. Isn't it interesting how when God points you out, the crowd seems to complain about God pointing you out? It's like today just happened to be my day. But why is today the crowd looking at me and saying, who are you that God would choose you? Who are you that God would choose you? I know your past. Who are you that God would choose you? You're too young. Who are God that God would choose you? I know what you did last summer. Who are you that God would choose? I know I know that you just sat down and you were waiting for something to happen and you didn't do anything, but who are you that God would choose you? It's everybody else here. You ever been in a crowd but know God was talking directly to you and God was dealing directly with you? But the crowd complained, saying, he has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Then Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor. If I have taken anything from anyone by false accusation, I restore fourfold. Jesus said to him, today, somebody say today. Today salvation has come to this house, because he is also a son of Abraham. I'll make sense of that in a little bit. But he is also a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man has come to seek and save that which was lost. Zacchaeus, like most of us, has a collection of complexities and qualities. And that's a very general scale, because we all can think about, I just want you to think quickly about the complexities of your life. I don't want you to get stuck in the difficulties, because we all got difficulties. Let's call those difficulties complexities. They make your life complex, because you know you serve a God who's able to fix anything at any time. But how many can be honest that you're still dealing with complexities? I'm trying to serve God, I'm trying to seek God, but I'm dealing with complexities. So he has a collection of complexities, but he also has some qualities. Can we pull those out and see if that can help us out in our walk of faith? Zacchaeus has a few complexities he's facing, one being his social standing. He is unpopular, to say it in the most polite way. He's a publican. Matter of fact, he is the presiding publican. He's the chief tax collector. He is the presiding publican. He's just not any old tax collector. He's the tax collector that the tax collectors report to. And you know, come on now, if you ever been in the supervisory position or you've been supervised, both of them are positions that come with some friction. Even if you're doing a good job, people still don't like you when you're in charge. Amen, somebody. Even when you're doing your best, people still got something to say. Can't lead nobody nowhere, but got something. Anyway, let me get out of that. Let me just come back to preach the word. We don't want to be upset this morning. We don't want to tiptoe into the text. So if we look at his social standing, that's one of the complexities that he's facing. I want you to think about your social standing and what complexities it might bring for you. Okay, so he's got some social standing issues, and he's also got a natural construct issue. He's undersized. He's vertically challenged. And so for even men of that time, reports will say that a lot of them were not very tall to begin with, but this man is even short for his time. So if the men of that age were small for, our time, imagine how small he was for his time. And so they're looking at this little man, and little man is always coming up short, except for when it comes to money. Because he got deep pockets. But his deep pockets are not helping him in this present situation. And I hope you hear me by the Holy Ghost. I said his deep pockets are not helping him because he is wealthy, he's looked down upon. Because the way he's attained his wealth is questionable. Now, you will read some commentaries that will accuse him of doing things that are wrong. The text doesn't tell me that. The text tells me he's a tax collector. Now, we know how tax collectors were looked upon. They were frowned upon because they were not foreigners. Tax collectors were people of Hebraic backgrounds who had took Roman jobs. And not just any Roman job, but jobs in the government. And when you have an issue with the government, anybody that works for them, you will have an issue with. Y'all don't even know what road I'm going down right now. You think you know, but I'm coming. But you have issues because they have a role in the government. And you're saying, you can't possibly have a good character because the reputation of your office is crooked. And there are some people, just because of the reputation of your office, you will be looked at as crooked. Hello, pastors. Hello, musicians. You know, all y'all sleeping with somebody that you ain't supposed to be, all of y'all. You know, all of us stealing the church money. Where I'm going to take the money? Where? How we got it? Y'all, somebody please tell me how we got it in my pocket, please. I just look around real quick and tell me how I got him out. I just want you to, a growing church, amen? A church that many will consider small. Okay, how did in the world? Anyway, we ain't going to talk about it. But people will see you. Can I tell you a backstory real quick? I'm gonna get back on task. I'm going on tangent. I'm coming right back. There was once upon a time, Father help my heart because I still want to be there. But there was once upon a time when your boy had a Jag. And when I say that joker was brand new, I mean brand new. I mean straight off the showroom floor. Joker had 19 miles on it. Do you understand me? They had to open, no lies, all facts, no brag, all facts. They had to open up the store window to get my car out. You understand what I'm saying? I'm walking it out while they driving it out. Come on, bring my stuff. I'm about to get my stuff. Anyway, And so here it comes, but I had a hesitation in purchasing it. Because what would I look like, and that was before all this remodel stuff was happening, what would I look like, somebody who works a 9-to-5 job, look like getting out at church of a brand new Jaguar? What would I look like? What would the people say? There they go. There they go. Look at him. I bet you he's taking all them folks' money. Them sheep were just giving all their money away. And then one of y'all put a dime on that car. I'm not being arrogant, I'm just being factual. But because of the office, the point of the matter is, because of the office that I walk in, sometimes that office in Christendom, in church, it is looked at with prestige in some churches and amongst some church folk. But amongst other church folk and amongst other people, it's frowned upon simply because of the position you're in. You can be the president or a congressman, and it doesn't matter. You could be the mayor. You could be the school board director. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you could just be you could be the supervisor or your local grocery store, and somebody is looking at you who they think anyway. So these are not foreigners. These are just people that are frowned upon because of their occupation. So he has an occupational hazard, if you would. And then he's also dealing with the complexity of spiritual direction. Now, I cannot tell you from the text. We will not eisegete today, but we cannot tell from the text what his mindset was concerning his spiritual direction. But he's in a spiritual direction. It's just unformed because he's working with some qualities. Somebody say, I'm working with qualities. And these qualities are something that we all can have, or we all actually do have in some shape, form, or facet. And Zacchaeus has some beneficial qualities. He has curiosity. Hold on, wait a minute. How deep? He got curiosity, he has energy, and he has ingenuity. So I want to see if you have any one of these three things, or do you have all? Do you have curiosity? If you scroll the internet, you have curiosity. Congratulations, because you're looking for something. Do you have energy? Well, you got up and you came here, or you got online and you're watching now, or you spend your energy doing what you want to do. Even when you're tired, you still spend your energy doing what you want to do. Because anybody been tired but still found a way to accomplish something that took some effort? Yeah, you will use your energy how you desire. Your energy, how you spend your energy will tell a lot about you. How you use your energy will testify. Can I keep going? And then he has ingenuity. So his curiosity, the curiosity is interest that leads to inquiry. So I'm interested in something, and now because I don't fully understand it, I start to ask questions. Am I talking to anybody yet? I start to ask questions. What is that? We even do that with Bible that we're not quite have a good hold on. If you start reading Daniel, you start reading Ezekiel, you start reading Revelation, you have questions. You may know the premise, but you have questions. Exactly how is this? The disciples walked with the Messiah himself, and they still had questions. Can anybody in this place be honest and say, I have some questions? Congratulations, you're curious. It's interest that leads to inquiry, but furthermore, it is acquisition oriented. There's no one that goes looking for something that isn't trying to acquire it. So when you go looking for it, I'm walking it, but let me get there. So when you go looking for something, even if you're going looking for trouble, you're trying to acquire trouble. And if you go looking for truth, guess what you're trying to acquire? So truth or trouble, either which way your curiosity flows, you're trying to acquire that which you're curious about. Are you curious about how this is going to end? Stay tuned. All right. His curiosity perhaps came naturally. You know, Christ had begun to build up notoriety at that time. And so maybe just out of his just natural inborn intrinsic curiosity, He's just like, who is this man that they call Christ? I want to see what the fuss is about. I don't know where his mind was, and I'm not going to try and put it there. But we know he had curiosity. He's like, I want to find out. The text tells us this much. I'm trying to find out who Christ is. Is anybody still looking for all of what Christ is? Because some of us have been told the religious side of Christ, and that's, no, come on. And some of us have been told the European Christ, which he is not. And some of us have been told this other type of Christ, this cotton candy, this sugar-coated Christ, and I don't know who he is either. And so some of us are still curious to find the truth. But he's curious and he's looking. Now, it's interesting that his curiosity worked as a conduit to his encounter. Let me say it again. His curiosity worked as a conduit, a catalyst, if you will, for his encounter with Christ. He met El Roi. I thought he met Christ. He met El Roi. He met the God who sees me. I need you to hold on to that because this is about to bless you. I believe it. He met the God who, he's looking for God, and he meets the God who sees him. Okay. Y'all hold on to it. I'm gonna come back to it. Sometimes us trying to see something about God translate into God changing something about us. Let me say it one more time. Sometimes us trying to see something about God translate into God changing something about us. I want to give you a thought for this message. Somebody say, get a good look. Get a good look. Get a good look, because sometimes we're trying to find God and we're saying, God, where are you? But we've got to get a good look. Somebody say, get a good look. And sometimes we're dealing with the complexities of our life, but our social standing keeps us from seeking God like we ought to, because we say they don't care about us, so we think no one cares about us. And we say they told me this about him, which ain't the truth about him. And so we are thinking that we're serving a God that doesn't look like us. Oh, see, some of y'all think I'm being ethnical. Y'all think I'm being racial right now. We were all made in his image and his likeness. That's what the text tells me. Let us go make men in our image and in our likeness. And so we're looking for a God who looks like us, instead of looking for a God who's looking for us. Somebody say, make eye contact. Anyway, so he has energy. I got to keep going. He has energy. And energy is available power. It is the capacity of action. If you can move at any rate, you have the capacity of action. He didn't chase the crowd. He could have. But he knew, dealing with his stature, he knew being undersized, that chasing the crowd wasn't going to work for him. He didn't chase the crowd. He didn't get lost in the crowd. He didn't press through the crowd like we know someone else did, the woman with the issue. But he didn't take that path. He said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get ahead of the crowd. I'm going to beat the crowd. You know, when you want something that's rare, sometimes you got to get ahead of the crowd. That means you got to get up ahead of the time that everybody else gets up. You can't get up the normal time. And if you like sleep like many of us do, getting up early is the last thing that you want to do. But there's a text that says seek him early. And I mean, sometimes that's literally, you got to get up. Sometimes anybody been woke up in the middle of the night, you didn't have a bad dream. You just woke up in the middle of the night. But some of us woke up in the middle of the night, and what did we do? We turned right back over. And God was like, I had something for you, but you go on back to sleep now. You going back to sleep now. You's tired. I had that proverbial it that you've been searching for. I had it for you, but you tired. Go on sleep. God know my heart. And it's tired. Knows your excuses too. And they're tired as well. Anywho, he got ahead of it. Lo and behold, the run, can somebody get with me spiritually here? The run was worth the distance. Can anybody feel that in their spirit? Like I ran to get ahead so that I could understand. I could see God in the clear. I had to get ahead. I had to get out from everybody else. I had to get away from everybody else. But the run, it was a lot of energy. I'm tired, and it took a lot for me to get here. But the run was worth the distance. Some of us have been trying to find God, and we've been running, and we're trying to get ahead so that we can see him as he's coming. We can understand where he's coming from so that we can do what he desires us to do. Can anybody understand or recognize that the run has been worth the distance? And I started early, I started late, but the run has been worth the distance. The run has been worth the distance, and the climb is worth the view. Somebody say the climb is worth the view. Man, I hope y'all see this picture as beautifully as I see it. The run is worth the distance, and the climb is worth the view. And so sometimes you're going to have to scale something, and I'm talking about in the natural realm, because sometimes what we do with text is we over-spiritualize it, but then there's sometimes in text where we underutilize it. And sometimes they'll be like, don't over-spiritualize the text. Well, the man did a natural thing that got him audience with God. What's deep? What's deep about this? What's deep? What's deep? The man climbed the tree. He didn't go up in the heavenlies. He didn't speak in tongues. He climbed the tree. Y'all ain't hearing me. He didn't prophesy to the nations. He didn't prostrate on the floor and make carpet angels. He climbed the tree out of curiosity. But it was still a channel where God could say, since you're looking for something, I'm going to show you more than what you expected. He found a way. Somebody say he found a way. He found a way. I don't know what your way is going to be. Maybe your way is climbing. Maybe your way is pressing. But somebody look at somebody and say, find a way. Right through your mask, say, find a way. Find a way. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't desire new levels while harboring an unwillingness to climb. You can't use the excuse of, I'm afraid of heights, and God is saying, I'm calling you higher. You can't say, well, I keep coming up short, but I don't know how I'm going to get visibility. I don't know how I'm going to see what God has for me. So if you can catch me in this metaphorical fashion, that there's some places that you have to climb to. There's some things that you have to scale in order to see God and for God to catch you at the time that he wants to catch you. Because there's a season that's designed. I'm crazy enough to believe that God had that tree there for him. I'm crazy enough to believe that God had that tree that was there. I believe that God created the tree, that created the seed, that created the tree that will be there at the time that Zacchaeus was coming to see him. I believe that God is just that intentional. And so there are objects that could be obstacles, or they could be opportunities. It's all depending on how you look at it. Somebody say, get a good look. Because he could have seen his stature as an obstacle. But his stature was an afterthought. He didn't even think about it. He was like, what can I do with what is surrounding me? And we're in a time of uncertainty when we don't know what's going to happen. And we say, I don't know where to go. Well, I dare you to open up your eyes and just start looking around for something to scale. I dare you to look around and say, there's something around here that I could climb. There's something around here that I could cut through. that I could press through, that I could wait by, that I could do so that God could see me, I could see God, I could make that eye contact, and I could come to where God wants me to come to. And please, if God calls you down, make sure that you step down. Okay. I said if God calls you down, make sure that you step down, because we all want to be called up. This man was called down. You over-spiritualized it. Anyway, let me get back to the text. He literally called the man down. Okay, that's what actually happened. Just to make sure that we're on the same page. Y'all with me so far? We cannot afford to mismanage our energy by making excuses. And some of us have wasted so much energy making excuses. We are the sons and daughters of the Creator, and we spend more time creating excuses than creating execution. What's the reason why you haven't done that thing that you said that God called you to do? Well, let me be frank with you. Some of it God didn't say. Some of it was your idea. And not all of your ideas are evil or reckless or whatever have you, but please, if God didn't say it, don't put his name on it, okay? Stop forging God's name on stuff that he didn't sign off on. Stop it. The temple was not God's idea. It was David's idea. Anywho. So it's not that it's wicked, but if God said it, then fine. Then make sure that you're trying to answer to what God calls you to. And if it's your idea, make sure that you're running it through, that you're consulting God on all of your ideas. Can you do that? Can you consult God on all of your grand ideas? Because it might be that the one that's coming behind you does. It might be that you do it. It might be that God says you can't do it at all because it's not for you to do. But again, if God calls you down, make sure that you step. Okay. If he called you up, make sure that you come up. But we can't mismanage our energy making excuses. How many of you know that you've done it recently? I should have, but I'm tired. I could have, but I don't have this. I'm too short. I'm in a position where people don't like me, so if I do that, maybe it'll be worse on me. I don't exactly know what direction to go. Well, just seek him. Does that make sense? So every challenge presents opportunities. Every challenge presents opportunities. The question is, will we answer with excuses or ingenuity? How will you answer the challenges that you face? Will you answer it with an excuse, or will you answer it with ingenuity? Zacchaeus decided that he would answer the challenges of his life, the complexities of his life, with ingenuity. Are you with me so far? What do you mean ingenuity? Well, I'm glad you asked. Ingenuity is the quality of creativity and resourcefulness. The sycamore tree became an observation point. And so some people would have looked at the tree and said, some people would have ignored the tree. They wouldn't have saw the tree at all. All they would have saw was the crowd. They would have saw the crowd and couldn't see their way through the crowd and be like, you know what, I'm never going to get to the place where I want to be because it's overcrowded. Come on, somebody talk to me. I can't get into the marketplace because it's overcrowded. I can't get into the business that I want to get into because it's overcrowded. I can't get into the right investment because it's overcrowded. I can't get into the right church because it's overcrowded. I can't get into the right network because it's overcrowded. But if you would just look around the landscape, God will shift it for you. Let me say it one more time. I said, if you would just look around the landscape, I am talking naturally and spiritually. If you would just look around at the landscape, you got to see that thing differently. Say, I've got to see it differently. I know it's a tree, but it's also an observation point for the one who can see it that way. But the tree is not going to bring itself to you. You got to go to the. And sometimes we're sitting there and we're saying, God, we're sitting there like the man at the pool of Bethesda, and we're saying, oh, God, if I just had somebody to take me. If somebody could just take me, I know I'd be successful. Come on, be real with me. If somebody would just show me, I know that I'd be able to accomplish. If somebody would just show me, when God is saying, did you look at the landscape? I want to ask the church a question. Have you looked at the landscape lately? There are people that have doubled and tripled and quadrupled their income since the pandemic began, and some of us are suffering because we didn't see it. They didn't see the pandemic come in either, by the way. They just was like, okay, it's here. Now what else is here? And sometimes we're so, oh God help me here. Sometimes we're so focused on the pandemic that we're missing the plan of God. We're so busy looking at the problems that are facing us that we're missing the purpose of God. And God is saying, if you would just look at the landscape, I have something that I planted there for you. Now I'm just going to step out on faith and believe God that God had that tree planted just for Zacchaeus, because he knew he was going to get there. He knows everything. Can I speak this prophetically? I believe this, that there's something planted for you, but you got to put your eyes on it. Somebody say, get a good look. I believe that there's something planted for you that's going to reposition you to get into the place where you can have clarity about what God is going to call you to, what God is going to bring you to. He did it for Zacchaeus. I believe he'll do it for you and I. Anybody want to believe God for that? We can't allow natural deficiencies to inhibit our spiritual aspirations. Let me say it again. We cannot allow our natural deficiencies to inhibit our spiritual aspirations. Moses had a speech in impediment. God said, I'll give you a mouthpiece called Aaron. Stop making excuses and do what I told you to do. But I've got an issue of blood and I can barely walk. Can you crawl? I have no man here. Can you open up your mouth? If you've been sitting in one place, and I'm not trying to make an indictment against the man, but if you've been sitting in the same place for 38 years and everybody keeps beating you to the pool, you know what season it happens in, every year I would ask somebody to move me closer. God help me here. Maybe you won't take me all the way, but you can take me 5 steps. Could you get me 5 steps this way? I can't move like you can move, but could you give me a second of your time and just get me 5 steps closer? Maybe you could cut the time in half. I don't know, but will you just sit there and do nothing and complain that nobody's coming? Or will you see the landscape differently? I know there's healing in the pool, and I know Jesus can come and save me, but what would happen if I would open up my mouth? What would happen if I saw the landscape differently? What would happen if I got a good look? Are you with me so far? At the same time, and hear me by the Holy Ghost, there are natural efforts. Receive this, receive this. There are natural efforts that yield divine results. There are natural efforts that yield divine results. We're so busy worried about over-spiritualizing things that we underutilize the natural things that God has provided for us. God provided a natural tree. God created a natural tree that grew there. I don't know how long the tree was growing there. I don't know how tall the tree was, but the tree was tall enough for him to see over the crowd. So whatever God has planted for you is going to be enough for you to see him. God help me here. I said whatever God has planted for you is going to be enough for you to see him. It's going to be enough for people to see you differently eventually. But if all you see is the crowd, you'll miss the tree. If all you see is the obstacle, you'll miss the opportunity. It's an object. What will you do with it? Are you hearing me? So there are natural efforts that yield divine results. Literally, somebody say literally. There are literally places that you have to go. Say amen, somebody. There are places that you have to go. No, you ain't going to get it here. You're going to get it when you go to where God calls you to be. You're going to get it when you step into a place where you can see above the crowd. So there are literal places that you have to go. God could meet me anywhere, but God is saying, I need you over here. Are you going to stay where you are? Talking about some God can find me wherever I'm at, but God is saying, I'm calling you over here. And if you don't get over here, you're going to miss what I have for you. I don't want to miss what I have for God because I think I know how he operates. God can do anything at any time, anywhere. I don't have to do much. It don't take all that. Maybe it don't take all that for you. Well, what are you going to do? Sit there and do nothing? What you going to do? Make excuses? The woman with the issue of blood, she tried everything, didn't she? She tried everything, and none of it worked. And so here she is, literally bleeding to death. Anybody ever bled out a good amount? Some of us, when we give blood, we be about feeling woozy, right? Be looking like somebody off of Mortal Kombat Fatality just... This woman's been bleeding for 12 years. And she still found her way to break through a crowd. I would imagine that she was crawling because she touched the hem of his garment, which would have been the edge, the fringes of his tallit. So sometimes you got to go out on the fringe. Oh, God, help me here. Sometimes you got to get out there on the fringe. She said, if I could just, sometimes you got to get low. And she said, if I could just get down, if I could just get, everybody else is trying to be head and shoulders above the crowd. But if I could just come through the cut. I'm leaking out. I'm almost out of energy, but I'm not making excuses. I'm making the effort. Literally places that we have to go. There are literal things that we have to do. I don't know what would have happened to Zacchaeus if he didn't climb that tree. I don't know what will happen for you if you don't climb to those places that God is saying, that God has set up for you. It's already set up for you. And you're saying, why can't God do it here? Because God had a purpose for you there. And you're getting upset with God when God has planted something for you. Can I talk for real to the church? Some of us are upset about the plan of God. God has purposely planted something that is ahead of you. And if you could just look at it, and it's not going to be what you think it is. It's not going to be a ladder, because a ladder would have made sense. If I could climb that, we are climbing Jacob's ladder. If you could have did that, it would have made sense to you, because it's churchified. I don't know if that's a word it is now. But it's the unusual things. How many times have we seen God use something unusual? And here it is that Zacchaeus sees this tree, but he also sees an observation point. He also sees a place that he has to climb to. There's some effort involved in it. It's not just planted there for me, but I have to do with something that's planted there. I have to do something with it. I can't just look at it. Well, in this case, I got to climb it. In this case, I got to plate. I got to press through it. In this case, I might just have to wait on Jesus. But whatever it is, I'm not just going to sit there and do nothing. But I got to start by getting a good look. Somebody say, get a good look. Natural placement can affect spiritual positioning. Literally. There are places where your anointing won't work if God didn't. Okay. It won't work there with your anointed self, because God didn't tell you to go down. I remember a story my aunt told me. She was a part of a rather, what we call a mega ministry, a relatively large ministry, and she was telling me stories about that when people came back from some of their crusades and going overseas, and they was over there messing with them witch doctors, people that was around, witch doctors or whatever had you, and they went over there trying to speak it in tongues, and people was like, that's cute. You can't do America over in some countries. You know that, right? Okay. Okay, you can't do America over. Some folks don't like Americans like that. You understand what I'm telling you? So you go over there trying to do American stuff, and they like, that's cute. There's some places where you can go and literally say Jesus saves, and they be all over the altar ready to give their life to Christ. You can't do that in America. You can't come. Okay, come on with your fancy self. Are you not entertained? You cannot come. You can't. You want something else? You know what I mean? What did you think this was? So when you can't say Jesus saves and the altar be filled. People be like, I know. What else? But there are some places you can go, and that will cause people to authentically give their life to Christ. But you have to be graced with the place that you'll sit to, amen? Some of us, we heard this before, some of us just went. We wasn't sent. You went because they called your name. You thought it was going to get your name in lights and stuff. Whatever. Yeah. You local famous. Sorry, excuse me. Let me come back to the text before I get. Yeah, I do. Y'all pray for me. I'm gonna be like my older brother. I'm gonna lay my hands on my own self. The petty spirit, get it off me, Jesus. Get it off me. I'm almost out your way. I gotta move. This is a testament of turning. This text is a testament of turning. What do you mean? It's a testament of turning. It's turning objects into opportunities. It's turning obstacles into an afterthought. Forget about your obstacles. Everybody, every one of us got it. Make it an afterthought. I'm not saying it's not going to be present. Just make it an afterthought. It's turning observations into encounters. What can I do when I'm looking in the text that'll help me find God in a different way, in a way that I need him at this point in time? Because I found him to be my redeemer, but right now I need him to be a way maker. Anybody have known something about God, that God has done something for them, but they're looking for what God hasn't done for them yet? Come on. Come on. How many know that God has done some things for you? How many know him to be the Lord your provider? Come on, how many know him to be the Lord your provider? But how many, in knowing that God is the Lord your provider, you still see that while you're in your situation, he doesn't see me? Somebody say, get a good look. He can't see me suffering down here like this. He can't see us going through what we're going through. He can't see, but he does see. But what are you doing? Are you too busy looking at the crowd? Or are you looking at the landscape? Are you looking at the object? Or are you looking at the opportunity? Oh God. It's turning obedience. This is my favorite one. It's turning obedience into unexpected honor. God help me here. What do you mean obedience? Zacchaeus begins his walk with God simply by coming down out of a tree. His curiosity led him to his encounter. And now he's had an encounter, and God says, I need you to come down from the tree. And he does as commanded. Somebody say that's obedience. We try and make stuff deep that don't need to be deep. The man was obedient. And not only was he obedient, but he did those principles that I laid. He did it immediately, exactly, and sincerely. God said, get down from the tree. The man was like, okay, what you need? He didn't know what to expect. So sometimes God will call you out of a place of observation to a place that you don't expect. God help me here. He will take you out of a place of observation into a place that you don't expect. God's going to do something that's dynamic in your life, but you got to get in position first. Can I say it one more time? God's getting ready to do, and I'm saying this, yep. God's getting ready to do something in your life, but you have to reposition yourself. God said, you saying I came all this way. I ran ahead of the crowd. I climbed the tree, and now he wants me to come down too? Yep, he wants you to come down now. And will you do it when he says do it? And he comes down very simple, but obedience. Let me tell you the complexity, the depth of the call that was on Abraham's life. I'm almost out your way. The call on Abraham's life, you know, Abraham was called to be the father of many nations. He was called to be the father of many nations. But I like to say that he had the call of the commuter. What do you mean the call of the commuter? The entirety of his walk with God, God told him simply to keep on walking. Sometimes God is calling to you to the nations, and all you're going to do is walk in them. Oh, God, help me here. Somebody just got happy in their spirit because they realized that God's about to send you traveling, and all you're going to do is walk. You don't understand what I'm talking about. That's all this man did was walk. God said, okay, this is going to be yours. Now I need you to walk over here. Okay. This is going to be yours too. That's gravy. Keep walking. That's going to be yours too. Man. Keep walking. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense to anybody? The Lord says, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down. Obedience turned into unexpected honor. Salvation came to his house. Say glory, somebody. So salvation came to his house. An unlikely candidate was fully qualified by Christ. You're an unlikely candidate, but you're fully qualified by Christ. Nobody saw you coming, but you're fully qualified by Christ. Do you understand what I'm telling you? And so they're saying, your occupation makes me despise you, but you're fully qualified by Christ. Your stature is unassuming. You're undersized. You're not big enough for this position, but you're fully qualified by God. You don't have enough experience, but you're fully qualified by God. You're too young. You're too old, but you're fully qualified. Somebody say, I'm fully qualified. Get a good look. You're fully qualified. Zacchaeus exits the tree ready to be generous. He doesn't just come out the tree ready to obey, but he comes out the tree ready to be generous. God, I'll return whatever I've done. I'm going to give half of what I have to the poor. I'm a rich man. I can do that. So he comes out that tree ready to be generous. He comes out of that tree ready to repent. God, whatever I've done wrong, I get myself right. He comes out that tree ready to restore. He's ready. This is not an act, because you know God, you know Jesus, the real Jesus, he call you on your stuff. He'll call you quick. He'll call you on it. But he comes out ready to make these changes. Christ recognized the seed who climbed the tree. I don't know why that's good to me. God recognized the seed who climbed the tree because there were people that wanted to disown one of their brethren because of what he was doing. Just because of his occupation. Just because of his political affiliation. Y'all ain't heard nothing. They were ready to disown him because of his political affiliation, but God recognized the seed who climbed the tree. He said, this is the son of Abraham. So sometimes your season won't come until you get on the tree. Never mind. Let me say it one more time because I don't know if I'll be saying nothing. But sometimes your season won't come. You're waiting for things to come to fruition, but you won't get on the tree. Okay, let me come back over here. Maybe I'm not making sense to nobody. But he recognized the seed who climbed the tree. He's also a seed of Abraham. The hemophiliac woman, the woman with the issue of blood, 12 years, she found her way through the press. Somebody say she found her way. So she found her way through the press. She reached for the hem and she found healing. So I'm not talking about all the time you got to climb. Sometimes you got to press. Sometimes it's not climbing that you need to do. Sometimes it's crawling. But will you be too proud to crawl? If you're weak enough, you'll get anywhere you can, any way you can. But she found healing. The Lord saw her. Somebody say the Lord saw her. The Lord saw her and he wasn't looking for her. She just said, I believe somewhere in her mind she might have said, if I just get a good look, because I got to touch the hem of his garment. I got to have hand and eye coordination. Very small thing that we take for granted. Very natural, hand and eye coordination, right? If I could just touch the hem of his garment, I just need to make contact. Anybody can just be real and say, I just need to make contact. She said, if I could just make contact with the man of God, I believe I'll be healed. And she was. She found her way. The paralytic man at Bethesda, the house of grace, 38 years, Lord help me. 38 years. Couldn't reach the pool in time. Couldn't reach the pool in time. The Lord reached him. So sometimes you're trying to get to a place and God will rescue you before you even get to the place because it was not about the place. It was about his person. Truth be told, it wasn't about the tree. It was about Zacchaeus looking for the person, even though he wasn't even sure what he was looking for. So you don't always have to have your mind made up. You ain't got to be the smartest person, but I got it all figured out. Anybody just know some of them believers that think they got it all figured out? I've been in this thing for 13 years, and I'm still trying to figure it out. There's some people that think they got it all figured out. There are things that God is still saying, I need you to remain dependent upon me, so I'm going to keep you chasing after me. I'm going to keep you looking for the next thing so that you can remain dependent, because the minute that you think that you have God figured out, that's when you stop chasing. And you become complacent. God, I got to get out of here. The Lord reached him. The Lord saw him. Zacchaeus climbed a tree to get a good look. And the Lord saw him. Look at the landscape. I'm done. Look at the landscape. It's a time of uncertainty. But I believe God has something planned for you, planned for me. But I can't get fixated on the object. I've got to see the opportunity in the object. But I've got to look at it differently. What is that I see? In the case of Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus might have saw that tree a ways off. And if he would have kept up his normal activity, the crowd would have passed by the tree without him having the ability to climb it. But he said, you know what? I'm not going to follow the crowd today. I'm not going to get lost in the crowd. I'm going to get ahead of it. So what I see might not be in my proximity. It might be a ways away. But I want to encourage somebody that the run will be worth the distance. Can anybody feel that in their spirit? The run, somebody just put that in the atmosphere. The run's going to be worth the distance. It's ahead of me. It's not right here, but I see it. I see it. It looks like an object to everybody else, but I see an opportunity. Can anybody just look with your ingenuity eyes, your creative eyes, your spiritual eyes if you want to? And instead of looking at the object, see the opportunity. I see something that God has planted for me. God has planted a promise for me. God has planted a purpose for me. God has planted a plan for me. It's not where I am, but I can see it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm getting there as fast as I can. I'm going to use all of my energy to get to that place so I can see what God has for me. Does anybody understand where I'm coming from? Can you get to that place? Use the effort that you got. I don't know if the man was fast. I don't know if the man was slow. But he used his effort and he ran. He moved as fast as he could. I'm not telling you to get in a race with anybody else. Your only competition is your yester. Your only competition is your yesterday, your yester self, your yester relationships, your yester job, your yester. That's your only competition. Can I beat yesterday? Did I beat yesterday? He's not competing with the crowd. He's just trying to get to that place. Anybody trying to get to that place? The run's going to be worth the distance. And the climb, somebody say the climb. I don't know how tall that tree was, but I know it was enough. Say it's going to be enough. I don't know how rough it was on his hands. I don't know if he slipped a couple times. I don't know if he got a couple of abrasions while he was going up that tree. But say, however tall, whatever it is. Somebody say, whatever it is. Whatever the object is, say it's going to be enough. Don't worry about it. Don't try and figure it out because you got to look ahead. Say, look ahead. Say, it's going to be enough. Say, I'm looking ahead, and whatever it is going to be enough. I'm looking ahead, and whatever it is going to be enough. The climb's going to be worth the view. The press is going to be worth the purpose. Get a good look. Give God praise all over this place.